Now is the moment of truth if it will look at all like British racing green. Welcome back to Living with a Classic and part 2 of getting my daily Jaguar XJ6 ready for a really long trip. You know, it's your daily, it's always a car that sort of suffers a bit with small things. But this time we're doing cosmetics on this thing. We're fixing the cracks in the paint on the backside, one sort of rear side of the car, and repainting that. And well, the intro is being filmed afterwards because it turned out really, really good. Now we fixed an oil leak as well. So I think you guys are really going to like this episode. Well, since last time, the only thing I've really done is I replaced the alternator. A really easy job. It charges really well now. That feels good for the trip. I've driven on the right tank a little bit just around the yard. It seems to be working well. And I washed this side of the car just to prepare for some paint and body work. That's why we still have the bumper off. I have this thing that's been going on for a while. And you have to think about this car. When I bought it, it was a non-running, almost like a parts car. It's been painted multiple times. And yeah, there's a little bit of filler here. As cracked for some reason, and there's a little bit on that door as well. So we're going to touch up that and try and blend it in. I've never bought any touch-up paint for this car, but I ordered some with the exact color code of the car, and the company I've ordered from is a Swedish company here, and I've heard really good things about them, and from friends ordering touch-up paint for Jags, and it's always been really good. But we'll see. So the paint I'm going to use, it's not just your regular touch-up paint. They actually mix proper two-stage paint for you. So it's real car paint. It's not like really the stuff that normally goes into spray cans, which is really cool. And when you use it, you activate it. You push in the bottom, and the hardener activates everything. And then this proper real car paint that can be polished and wet sanded and everything, and it should match what we have on here, because this is it's not a base clear on this car. It is a two-stage paint, of course, but not base clear. I was a little bit worried about the color match, or still am, but what I did was, of course, I haven't activated, because once you activate it, you have an hour to use it. I just shook it up and I sprayed a little bit of the paint without the hardener on here. I mean, just really lightly. I don't want to use too much. It's quite expensive, this paint. But it is dark green. And I did use the color code for 1975 British Racing Green XJ6. So hopefully that's all right. If not, it's going to look a lot better. That's also why we're going to use the blend technique and not just... Because if we were to paint the whole rear wing, we'd probably just notice a really massive difference. Also, because it's so far down, you shouldn't notice such a big color change. And also, this part here, which we're going to fix as well, as you see, is pretty far down. But this car, it is my daily for a reason, because it does have some issues like this. It's not perfect. It's not rusty, but it just has these small little paint imperfections. I just want to make it look nicer and continue enjoying it. But let's do something I wanted to for a long time. Let's see what's underneath that. So it's been like this for about a year, and let's see what's underneath. And it's been like this when I'm driving in the winter with salt and everything. That's not too bad. So see, this car does have a bit of filler in it, and I'm completely aware of that. It also has spray filler, and one of the many reasons it gets used as my daily, because if you want to put this thing back into show condition, it would need a complete bare metal respray. But it shines up pretty nicely, and I love using it. I think you guys like watching this car being used. Because of this, it means we will need to put filler back. I really don't mind. What I think we're going to do is, I have a small blaster, like a point blaster, you put around here. I think we'll use that and clean up the metal. Just to do whatever we can not to try and get any rust back. And now I'm just trying to, whatever I can take off that feels like it's loose, we will take off. This is also an area that usually does flex a little bit on these cars, especially if you have issues with tank ventilation. This car does not, but if you do, this can actually flex when the fuel gets hot in the tank, especially on V12s. But yeah, there's a bit of filler in here. Does it matter? No, not really. Would it be nice to take the whole panel back? Yes. But this whole side of the car has filler on it for some reason, and I think it's a mixture of just regular stuff and spray filler. Could be that the rear arches have been done, but it's all very, very nicely done. Any of the metal work done on this car before, like it's had new sills, it had everything in the past. You know, it is an old car. All the work looks really good. So I don't know why there's this amount of filler, but as you've seen on other projects, cars from the 90s that were repainted, if you got a nice expensive paint job back then, used a lot of spray filler, which you get a really nice result, and it's super flat and looks gorgeous. However, it does react after 10, 15, 20 years, and things start happening. I'm not really too worried about that. So what I've actually done is, I would never use it on anything else, but I've actually bought a bit of spray filler as well, because if I can't get this looking nice, I will add that. Just because, you know, in 10 years, when that's going to be an issue, I've probably already repainted this car again and done other things. So, we will see. Who knows, in 10 years this might be, yeah, hopefully I still am able to keep it on the road and enjoy it. But now we're just about saving it, because if we would keep this, this would become a rust issue. But you see, you still have nice metal here. No real rust at all. But we're all about saving it. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Doesn't look too bad. And I think we'll get the little shot blaster out and clean up this area, see what the metal looks like after that, and then we'll scuff up the area a little bit, put some primer down, and then we'll move on to the other part, which also needs to be done on the door. So all of this is just some blasting material in here, and then it gets shot up. I got these attachments. You can use different ones. This is for a flat area. Put it on here. Shouldn't make too much of a mess because it should get caught in the bag here. Will be a little bit noisy with the compressor, but let's just see what happens. Look at that, nice clean metal we're getting. So yeah, it does of course make a tiny bit of a mess, but it's a lot less than if you just were blasting out basically into space. So I'll blast this whole area. We'll see what it looks like, and then we'll start sanding down here to try and get a little bit of smoother edge, and we'll move on to priming, filling, and all of that, and then we have the door as well. Here you have a good example of sort of why we're just doing a spot repair and why this car would need a lot of work if you want to have it perfect. So this is the paint that we have right now, the other coat. Then there is what looks like some sort of primer with a little bit of some sort of spray filler, maybe something coat. Then you have a green paint underneath there. Then you have a primer, and then you have some filler, and yeah. It's been painted a lot of times. But honestly, it doesn't look too bad once it's all together. Not a show car. It's a car I just like to use and enjoy. So hopefully this is going to turn out pretty good. I've just softened the edges here a little bit, and then we're getting ready to treat the little bit of rust that's back there after the blasting. And then we'll prime it, and I'll move on to the other bit. Then it's just going to be a little bit of filler over all of this. Try and make it nice and flat again. And I just have the taped up area around here just to not get any paint above there. And then I'm going to move the masking area, make it bigger later when we paint, so I can easily blend it out, hopefully. But this is just because I don't want to get any filler, or not filler, but any primer or anything above this line, just to make the blending process a bit easier. I'm also just going to scuff up this area of the paint with quite fine sandpaper, like 400 or something, just to have the primer has something to grab onto, but I don't want to have too much of scratches or anything like that that can be seen through, because it will be. So like I'm just going to prime basically the area around here, but the area adjacent to that will of course get green paint on it. Alright, so after the blasting, I put some rust converter on it, let that cure, sanded it down, and then I have also put some etch primer on there, a couple layers. I also, with a Scotch pad, just roughed up this area here. I will do a larger area later when we do the rest of the blend. However, just enough so it sort of adheres to it. And then I have sanded the area again. Now it's time for the filler. And it's important to not get any air bubbles. And the trick is to basically put on too much, and then you can take it off. So there's really not much to it. Cures pretty quickly, this sort of stuff. I'll do the other side as well. Or wait, we'll go like this and just try and smooth it out a little bit. Okay, like that's pretty good. It's not perfect. Definitely not an expert at this. So before this cures, I'm going to do the door as well. And then when this cures, we'll sand it down. We'll have a look and see if we want to do a little bit more. And then we'll do a second coat or even a third coat until we're happy with it. And then we'll move on to the next step. A couple times of sanding, filling, and then you find a little pore and you go back, and this is the result. What I'm going to use now is a high build primer. It will help smooth out some things, and I continue with sanding, and also maybe I'll see something where I may need a little bit more filler. Not sure. But it is a high build primer that is recommended that I can use by the manufacturer of the top coat, so they shouldn't react together. So we'll just do a thin coat to start with. Wait for that. And then once I'm happy with this area, like I said, I'm going to pull back the masking tape a bit, and then, you know, we'll continue the scuffing of the whole panel that I'm going to paint. But here is where I just want to make it, you know, as good as possible. There was quite a bit of filler in here, and I'm not removing all of it, like I said, but just trying to blend this in and hopefully make it as nice as possible. So I'll let this go off a little bit, put another coat on, and then let it fully cure, and I'll sand this down, look for more imperfections. If I'm unsure, I'll use a little bit of black spray paint as a guide coat. You can see that in a little bit. And then just continue this process until hopefully we have a nice smooth surface that we can paint on. While that primer dries, I'm going to replace the cam cover gasket on this side. A couple years ago, I noticed it was leaking because it was pinched in one place, and I didn't have a new one. And I was going to a car show, so I just used RTV. and it's leaking up here, filling the spark plug well with oil. I have one here, and I'm just gonna really quickly replace it. Nothing really too difficult about it. I did plan on waiting because I do want to do a valve clearance on it, but I don't have time to do that right now, and these gaskets are pretty inexpensive, so yes, I'll have to take it apart again when I do that, but I don't want to drive that long with an oil leak that could potentially get a lot worse. So this is my second sort of layer of this high build filler. First one I sanded down, and then I saw some areas with issues, sorted that out, and then I put this on, and I removed the masking. Now I'm using 400 wet sandpaper, and I just sprayed on. This is just some black spray paint as a guide coat, just to make sure that I sand through all of that and go through everything. And yes, you can block sand these things. I've done that before. You see, this is like a run I had before. And you see how well those show up when you do this. Another thing I want to do is go over the edges here so that the masking tape edge will disappear. I will be going over this with about 800, can't remember if I have 600 or 800 grit. Once again, before the top coat, and any area around that would blend in, I will use a Scotch pad and just scuff up that area as well. But there we go. So I just want to get rid of this edge here so you can't feel that. And I mean, I am finding like that is a paint imperfection from, you know, the old paint on the car. It's not perfect. I don't think this car has ever been sort of wet sanded anything with the paint. So that's the same thing I'm finding here. That's small paint imperfections from the old paint. So also one of the reasons we're not going for an absolutely perfect result here. Just want to make it nice and presentable. So this is the tedious bit. The sanding, the painting is really the easy part. But it's all of the prep work and all of the sanding. Well, I'm not going above this line at all because that's as far as I'm going to paint. I'll put the soft edge masking tape line up there. But yeah, want to get rid of, for instance, this run here. Just a slight run. Can hardly even feel that with my fingers, but you're going to see it. So once I can't see any of the run or any of the black paint I put on as a guide coat, I will know that that is nice and flat. Also, right now the black paint is down in sort of the scratches that have been put on from the coarser sandpaper before, and that will all go away with this 400, and then we'll go over it with even finer. So I'll do this, go over everything even finer, hit everything else with a Scotch pad. Then it's time to clean up the area quite a lot. I'm gonna blow off the car and everything with compressed air, dry up the whole area, clean the whole panel again, mask off the areas I want to not get paint on, clean off the panel again, and then we're going to start painting. Done a bit of masking, and the plan is I'm not going to paint all the way up to here. It's a little overspray from before, and that will get polished away. I had the same on the arch over there, and I tried just to put cutting compound. It was gone right away. So I only want to paint until about here, in this area, and it's similar over there on the door, but of course I masked everything in case something happens. And I've blown up everything, compressed air. I've dried the whole area with you know, grease and wax remover, even, you know, where I actually stuck the paper down, and then I've masked it, and then I'm going to wipe it down one more time and then we should be good to go to hit it with paint. I really hope it matches. If not, well, we'll have to redo it at some point, but at least this is better than rust. This is wax and grease remover. Make sure we get on everything that we're painting and a little bit extra as well. And like I said, this is like the third time I've done this, so it shouldn't be an issue. I am actually going to do it one more time. I want to be absolutely sure there's nothing on the paint that will react, and then everything is clean and we're good to go. So in this two-stage paint, what you do is use this sort of tool here. You're supposed to push that hard into the bottom. That will activate the hardener. And I read on there you actually have about 5 hours to use it once you've done this, but we will see how that actually works. Alright, they say to hit it hard, so I'm going to hit it on the table here, see if that works. Now it seems a little spring load in there. It's probably, hopefully the hardener has gone in here. You're supposed to shake it for 2 minutes. Probably be a little bit more. And then we'll start. So what I initially want to do is, of course, cover the primer. And then the last couple coats, or the last coat or two, there will be 3 coats, we will blend it out a little bit. Even with the paint is scuffed here with the Scotch pad, that can be polished back if I wanted to paint that hard. I do not want to paint all the way up to the masking line or anything like that, because I don't want a hard edge. In case I haven't mentioned it, in case you're wondering, yes, I am wearing a mask. You need to when working with paint. And I've also turned up the heat in here. It's about 26, 27 degrees. Quite warm, just to help everything cure, and I'll probably turn it up even higher once it's dust dry, so just get some heat in here. So I tried and sprayed this on a piece of cardboard. It seems to spray fine. Now is the moment of truth if it will look at all like British racing green. We'll just do a light dust coat, like that. And you see the overspray stuff up here. That's no problem at all, because that you just polish that away. You don't want a hard line. So far we're looking pretty dark. We'll see. I don't have any other green paint, and well, I gotta make it work. So I'll do the same thing on the door now. We'll wait for this to get a little tacky. Then we'll do a first or a real coat. Then you need to wait 5 minutes between coats and do about 3 coats. Alright, time for sort of a second coat. This is just a dust coat. I'll probably do at least 2 more coats after this. I really want to, of course, cover the primer. But I don't want any runs. So this coat, I just want good coverage with no runs, and then future coats will go for more gloss. It's not completely the correct color, I think. Might be different when it dries, but actually, no, when I take a step back, that looks really, really good. I'll do the door as well. A couple more coats, and I'll bring you guys back for the final results. Slight change of plan halfway through painting. We'll see if this is a good idea or not. The color feels not quite there. And the paint lasted a lot longer in one can than I thought it would. The reason I ordered one can is because it's pretty expensive and I didn't know if it was going to match. So I quickly unmasked the car when it was sort of tack dry. I scuffed up the other areas that were masked. So I have now painted the whole rear fender and the whole rear door up until here. So my plan is then to polish and wet sand this paint down here so that this layer goes away. That is just overspray on here down to that edge, and here we'll have to do some softening. Not really sure about that. All the way down, because I think that way it will look the best it can. I definitely don't have enough to continue up and do the whole of the car, and that's really not the point. I don't really mind if someone can see like some sort of paint difference. You have to also admit the rest of the car needs to polish, so it might turn out pretty alright, but just looking here, the roof feels a lot lighter, but most panels on this car are painted at different times and all of that. But just lay down the final coat, and I haven't seen a single run, which is really good. The last coat I put on pretty heavy, and that way you can see you do actually get a really, really nice result. So yeah, let this dry. I'll turn up the heat even more in here, and then we'll see what it looks like when we pull back the masking and try and we'll see how far we get in this video, but at least want to try and polish the top part where the overspray is and see if that goes away. It's the next day. I went out about 5 hours after painting it and just pulled off the masking, and yes, there is a color difference, but it isn't really too bad. Of course, we have a hard edge here where I have sort of the overspray up here. Yeah, that makes a difference, but I'm in the process of wet sanding it. So my plan is to wet sand this part down to here, and then there will be sort of an edge along the crease here that you shouldn't be able to see too much. Yes, there will be a slight difference between that color and that color, but it's close enough. And for what we're doing, it looks a lot better than rust. So what I'm doing here, I put masking up here so I can go against that, so I don't want to cut too much into the other paint, and then I'm just carefully sanding. I'm using 1200 grit now to start with, and then I'll go to 2000 to get just the last of it out, and then we're just going to use some polishing compound, polish this, and just polish slightly down here on the edge. I'm going to wait to cut and buff this paint until I'm back from the trip, because usually you want to wait a couple weeks for it. I mean, it's dry now, so the chemical process is cured, but it's still, I like for it to sit a little bit, and then you can cut it a little bit more. Also, I don't really have the time, and it came out really, really well. We'll pull it out later in the sun and have a look, but there isn't a single run or anything like that in it, so really impressed with it. But I'm going to continue this process. You see here, there, I'm down all the way, and here, just continuing. Do that all along there, and this should look really nice. That was definitely just a really quick first polish of it. I'm going to give the whole car just a quick polish, not going for perfection, thing sits outside. Quick polish and some wax, but yes, there is a color difference a little bit, but we did get a really nice line there, which sort of blends in, and it just sort of looks like it's a bit shadier down there. And if I, let's see if I can turn the light around. Look at that. Without direct sunlight or the strong light on there, which means this would probably be more like sunlight outside, you can't even see a difference. So really happy with the results. However, I do have a little bit more to polish for the whole car, but now it's good enough that I can put the bumper back on, and actually the car is drivable again. When I remove the bright light, it doesn't look too bad. I'm really, really happy with how this looks actually. It's a lot better than what it was before. So, what do you guys think? I think it turned out really, really good considering what it looked like before and what it looks like now. But sadly, this is the end of this episode. It's what as far as I've gotten till I want to upload now on Friday. And well, the cam cover's back on. That's no problem. I didn't really show the whole process. It's just replacing actually putting a gasket there that wasn't there before. Some Hylimer blue, and that's all good. Join me next time when you should be able to see the car all polished up. I'm going to give it just a quick polish all around and wax. We'll have the bumper back on and probably all packed up and ready to go on a big adventure. So that will be the next time you see this car. There may be some videos so in between then, I'm not really sure. But it'll be a long road trip with this thing and hopefully a lot of fun. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. Until next time, I'm Adam. This was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.